Just want to respond to Edwin's question. He's asking to what extent our national political climate affects international buyers' perception of a good business or a good deal. He's asking the question, is it a case of good deal but bad environment? It's very interesting, this, because we've got two big deals, significant deals, closing with international acquirers at the moment. And I was sitting in on one of the deal discussions yesterday. And I think firstly, what we found in that when we took, it's a software business, when we took it to market, you think that it's just, I've got a software business, it's in South Africa, yeah, kind of who's interested. Funny enough, South Africans are all over the world. So we actually haven't got a bad reputation. We might have our local, kind of local issues, but in so many of the cases where we had meetings, we had 15 meetings on that project, and I think 11 or 12 of them were international meetings. There was always some knowledge of South Africa. So you're right, if it's someone sitting in Wisconsin, they've never traveled out of the US, and they've just heard of South Africa from Trump's last outburst, it's very unlikely that guy's going to even open our email. But you'd be amazed at how many people have got some form of connection to the country, or have got an employee who's in their software development team who's from South Africa, or they've got some investment through here. So I think that's the point, is that the pool of acquirers who are comfortable with South Africa is big enough to be able to do international deals. Even in fact, that Emmy Lekmetal, who acquired Primer, Eduardo, the CEO, he had worked for Anglo many years ago, but he had come to Joburg a couple of times, and he's in Chile, so he gets more the developing world. So this is what it is about finding the right buyer. You've got to look to find those guys. They don't advertise. They don't say, oh, we're looking in South Africa. That doesn't necessarily happen. Sometimes happens, not necessarily. You've got to go and look, and you will find that the right guys pop up. So yes, we have our political turmoil. The fact that the guy in Belgium is interested in looking at a business here as of today, so just after a lot of the drama, just shows that we can often be our worst salesman. One to keep an open mind, because we have unbelievably good businesses. We are a cheap manufacturing environment, and we have brilliant skills environment from an engineering and software perspective. So there are a lot of very good strengths here, and generally we get past the negative issues. We've got so many deals happening with international acquirers. In our last 20 deals, a third of them have been to international buyers. So we get around it, and you'd just be amazed at how much real knowledge of South Africa does exist, and the fact that the positives seem to outweigh the negatives.
I think just on that very quickly, what's also happened over the last couple of years is the risk profile has changed globally. And I remember, trying to do a deal in 2016 when the outlook was particularly bleak in South Africa, and there was this huge gap, this perceived gap in the risk, but that has closed. And I think there has been a realization, more and more buyers, that you've got to look for good companies in the right environment. And it's also how you approach them. So you can't be short-sighted. Any potential buyer into that there aren't challenges. We know what the common challenges are. There's poor perception around empowerment. There used to be issues on power, which we've hopefully resolved. And there's, if it's relevant, competition commission issues or the regulatory environment and those things. So it's also how you go front foot on those elements. It's very surprising. That's, I think, a great opportunity for South African companies, because buyers that traditionally looked in one or two markets are now looking in from a broader perspective.